Do you ever find yourself just stuck in procrastination and you feel paralyzed and a prisoner to your body and just not being able to do things? Or do you get kind of caught up in that cycle where you're in this go, go, go mode, putting out fires, and then your to-do list just kind of gets forgotten? There are a lot of things that I've noticed both in myself and the people I've worked with over the years. And yes, I struggle and really struggled with time management. And for me, yeah, little story, I used to be that prisoner of procrastination as well as perfectionism. And I really struggled because I always worked part-time, and so I did have the time to do things, but when there was so much time, I would get overwhelmed and I would just get frozen and I would get stuck. And so today I want to talk to you about what's underneath those barriers of time management and getting into your own rhythm, as well as giving you some practical strategies of how you can improve your time management and be more intentional, more focused, and really just get in touch with yourself and in your natural rhythm. So let's get started. I want to talk about first what I've noticed over the years in myself, because I'm always the guinea pig first before I try anything with clients, and just different things that I've been learning. And as I've been learning more about the nervous system, I'm finding that it's really a huge piece to why people struggle with time management. And so I want to ask you first, how do you spend your time? What are you doing? Can you assess where you're getting stuck, where you're wasting time, where you're getting distracted, and more importantly, what are those triggers that kind of get you into that freeze mode, that dorsal mode? Or what are those triggers that get you into flight mode where you feel that you have to put out a fire? Because a lot of the time, I would say a lot of the time, like big time, that's what affects people's ability to be effective with their time and to be really intentional and focused, because they're running on these automatic reactions of their nervous system and these old patterns. And so it's really important to kind of start reflecting on, okay, what happened today? How did I spend my time? Where did things veer off? What was that first domino that got hit that just threw everything off? Was it a trigger of getting stuck in freeze mode? Was it an obsession over perfectionism and focusing on one thing that prevented you from doing everything else? Or was it getting in flight mode and just being go, go, go and feeling like, oh no, I have to do this right now, it's urgent. Because all of that is a sense of there being some sort of danger or some sort of protective response that you've used for many years that isn't really helping you anymore. And so it's good to understand, well, where is that coming from? And once you get that understanding of where that's coming from, well, then you can start looking at, well, what needs to go? So for example, maybe you get stuck in dorsal and you start going online and wasting a lot of time online. So you need to let go of that pattern and that habit and coping mechanism. And what are you going to replace it with? How can you calm your nervous system? How can you address that trigger of being stuck and frozen? And what can you do on a daily basis? And what can you do with some therapy or a coach to help you do that deeper work as well? And then the other piece with that is the more you're able to connect with yourself, the quicker you can catch those triggers, the quicker you can catch that first domino that throws everything off. So what is it that helps you stay balanced? And what is it that helps you stay connected? So for example, maybe you have a mindfulness practice. Maybe you have a meditation that you do where you're doing a body scan. Maybe throughout the day, you're noticing how your body feels. Because that's where it starts. It starts in the body. There's like a little cringe, an old trigger, and then you start thinking and making an association to that trigger. And then that comes the behavior or the thoughts and the actions. And so that's why I highly recommend, before I even go into the 5 steps for time management, I highly recommend having 2 lists and 2 kind of separate practices. One is to look at, well, what helps you stay connected to yourself? Okay, like what are the things that you're going to do daily to do that? So for me, it looks like, meditation, exercise, diet, sleep, social, and spiritual. That's very fundamental for me. And things like journaling. Journaling is so powerful, and it really helps you empty your mind, process things. And there's lots of different techniques. It's just finding one that you like. Really having deep connections with other people, being in nature every day is so important because that helps calm the mind, calm the nervous system, so I'm not being reactionary. And then just finding ways to be creative. That's the hard one for me. That's the one that I really try to get in, and it's still a work in progress. And just being silly and playful. Because without that humor, we miss that aliveness, our true essence, and just this vibrancy of being alive. And so I find that's very important for me. And then just having this general balance of giving and receiving. Because if I'm stuck in, let's say, dorsal or flight mode, I'm in survival. And so then I can't give, and I'm not in a place to receive. And that's our true nature, to be able to give and receive. So those are my things that help me stay connected to myself, to stay in alignment, if you want to put it that way, or to stay in ventral vagal. And that way, I'm not being reactionary, and I'm not getting stuck in dorsal and stuck in procrastination. So what happens if I do get in that state and I'm outside of that nervous system window and I'm really stressed and I start, feeling overwhelmed? What are my tools and strategies to get back into ventral vagal, to get back to myself and to calm, into my inner wisdom? So those are things like vagal exercises. I have some videos on those. Simply putting my hand on my heart. That's one of my favorites. And just kind of trying to calm down and breathe. Again, nature, journaling. So similar techniques to staying connected helps me get back into ventral vagal. Meditating, I really enjoy doing yoga nidra. That really helps because then I'm really tuning into the vibration and how I want to feel, as well as connecting with my body. And it's doing lots of things with your nervous system and your brain. It's like 5 things in one. Reaching out for help, talking to someone I trust, that I feel comfortable to talk to, doing things like yin yoga, physical touch, a hug. Sometimes a hug is just like one of the best things if you can get it, because that physical contact with another person really helps regulate your nervous system and really helps calm you down, and you don't even have to talk, nothing. Some of the simplest things are the most powerful. Another thing I like doing, hot bath with sea salt. Again, something that calms the nervous system down. I like doing things like smudging, maybe using crystals, and cold water shower. That helps. I don't do that often, but sometimes I'll do that. So that's a lot. And the reason why it's such a long list is because in any given moment, I have to see, especially if I'm in dorsal, I find that when we're stuck in dorsal, it's really hard to use a strategy because you're frozen. So I like to have lots so that it's like, okay, which one do I feel I can do right now in this moment? And it might even be something as simple as sounding and doing the woo sound, which vibrates your throat chakra and activates your vagal nerve. So it's finding things that work for you and having a bunch of different strategies. Because if you can do that regularly, you're less likely to go into the sympathetic, go into the dorsal, go into that like panic mode or that freeze mode that actually stops you from being present and being able to do the things that you wanted to do on a particular day. The next part is looking at those patterns. Okay, what is causing you not to have enough time, right? And one of the things I notice is people's need to control, and that's a safety mechanism that a lot of people develop, needing to control things, to micromanage, to be perfect. And so by doing that, there's so much time being spent and so much energy that it's not sustainable to be able to get all the things done that you need to get done. And I mean, when I say all the things that you need to get done, realistically, being able to do the things that are on your list that are a decent amount. The other one, as I mentioned earlier, is like living in that chaos. If you grew up in a home where there was a lot of chaos, you're used to that. Your brain's used to that. The chemical combination of what's in your brain is used to that state of being. So if you try to change it, your brain's like, no way. Your nervous system's like, what are you doing? That's something different. No, that's dangerous. So that chaos is comforting, ironically. But having that chaos means that you're always putting out fires and that you're jumping from one thing to another and nothing's getting finished. So it's being able to address, again, what is that trigger that brings you into that state, and then coming back and calming the nervous system down over and over again to repattern so that you're not having that reaction anymore. The other thing to consider is having balance between structure and flexibility. When I help people with time management, we try to create a schedule where there's foundational pieces each day. So like, this is a must, this is a must, this is a must. And then there's times during the day where it's flexible, that they can do those other things that are on their list, as well as making it a priority to do routines, which I'll talk about later. So it's really important to understand those patterns, to see what's throwing you off, how are you spending your time, what's distracting you, what is your coping mechanism that is causing you to not get things done. And so once you have a general sense of that, and you created your list of things that you're going to use to stay connected to yourself, those anchors, and a list of things that you're going to do if you get out of alignment, if you get out of ventral vagal, it's time to get down to business and do the 5 steps to really map everything out and just do that clearing of the time wasters and whatnot. And so step 1 is reconnect. And so if you've already done this with your physical space, you know that you need to start with, well, what are your values? What's important to you? What are your intentions? So you've already gone through these 5 steps after looking at my other videos. You can just revisit those values and intentions that you originally had and see if they've changed a little bit and tweak them. And, look at, well, what's important to me specifically around how do I want to spend my time moving forward? And that's really important because you've taken some time to look at, well, how am I spending my time now? Where does it need to change? What's good, what's working, and what needs to change? And then with step 2, it's that create. And so what is it that you want to create around your time? What is it that you're creating in your life? And that means you have to shift how you're spending your time, because maybe for the next 6 months you're taking a course and you're putting energy into that. So that means maybe a few things need to go. So where are you going to recalibrate, which I'll get into after. So what's this actual vision that you have, right? What is the vision that you have for yourself? And thinking about, is there anything that you want to add to your life, right? Because it's not just about letting go. It's also about, like, what do you want to bring into your life? And that's where the 3rd step comes in, because if you're bringing stuff in, you have to be able to let go and release the old. And when I say the old, it doesn't mean just forget everything, let go of your past, let go of, everything and start from scratch and be like super, super minimal. It's just about letting go of the things that aren't working, or things that you just aren't really connected to anymore and that aren't meaningful for you anymore because you've changed and you've grown and your attention and focus is in a different area. So it's being able to look at, okay, well, what are the things that are my time wasters? What are my coping mechanisms or my beliefs or trapped emotions that keep me stuck in procrastination? So this isn't just about how are you spending your time, it's about releasing the things that are affecting your ability to be focused and intentional with your time. And next is, well, once you let go of all the things that are getting in the way and you're aware of what you want to keep and what you want to add, now you got all this new information, you need to recalibrate. So you need to organize your time and look at, okay, well, I removed all these things. This is how I want to be spending my time now. This is how I'm going to organize my schedule. Make sure that it's balanced. I have structured times each day and I have flexible times each day. I have a general intention for the day, and that way it's clear. It's very clear, and most importantly, it's realistic. And that takes time to know realistically what you can do in a day. And there's some days where you can do more than others, and it's just being able to move along and go, okay, that didn't happen. That's okay. I can address it later at some point this week. The other piece around this, around the recalibration, is boundaries. So let's say you get stuck watching Netflix for 3 hours. What are you going to do to set that boundary so that you don't fall into that trap again? Or maybe you waste time getting really perfectionist about things. What are you going to do? So it's about making a list of maybe criteria where you're like, okay, I'm going to allow myself to watch a show twice a week for an hour. And then who are you going to be accountable towards that? Because accountability makes a difference, and it really helps with being able to follow through with those boundaries. If you struggle with perfectionism, timers work great. Putting a timer, let's say you're researching a product that you want to buy and you want to get that perfect product. I've seen this often with clients. And so the strategy we use is that they have a timer, and whatever they find in that time frame for that product, they just have to make a decision. And they don't have to make the decision that day, they can do it the next day. And even before that, they make a list of what is it that I need in this product? Because then it's clear what they're looking for, and they're not getting lost in the abundance of options there are nowadays. And it just makes it more concise, clear, and easier to make decisions. And so once you've done that, it's a lot easier to be intentional with your day. And so you can go through this each day and say, okay, well, what's my focus for the day? This is what happened yesterday. So you know what? I need to let go of A, B, and C because now it's too much. And then recalibrating and understanding what you need to do and looking at, well, what's going to be helpful for me today so that I can address these things. And then also looking at, well, how do I need to reorganize my time if I had to add something and take something away because now I need to move things around. And so you can do that daily, that process of what's your intention, what do you want to create, what needs to go, recalibrate, reorganize, and then get going with your day. And then the last piece is, well, how are you going to stay connected in this nice flow and rhythm? And I like to use your natural rhythm instead of time management because that means you're always checking in with yourself and you're not like spinning in your head or disconnected and dissociated or frozen. You're always connected in this flow and this rhythm and this steady pace that's not stressful, okay? And by the way, stress is good, just not too much. At a certain level, stress is actually good because it mobilizes us. But this level of rhythm where you're moving without it being so overwhelming on you. And so what that looks like is, well, how are you going to create a morning routine, an evening routine, and even like a lunchtime, afternoon one, where you have those anchors that we talked about before, and you're doing it every morning. What are the 2-3 things that you're doing? And they can change up, but you have like maybe 5 things, and every morning you do 2 or 3. And in the evening, same thing. What are your anchors to wind down? And I actually suggest with clients as well, what are you doing for transitions between work? If you work outside of the home, how are you going to transition from your work day to your home life? If you're working at home, when the day's over, how can you shift to now being in your home life and finishing the work day? So that's where the rhythm piece comes in, and looking at those anchors and looking at those pieces that help you transition. Some examples are if you're coming home, unpacking your bag. Hey, that helps you keep an organized home. If you work from home, leaving the physical space in the morning, going for a quick walk, coming back, and then that way you're entering the space with that mindset of I'm working. And then at the end of the day, same thing, leaving the space, going for a walk, emptying your head, and then kind of recalibrating, connecting with yourself, and then going into what's next, right? Throughout the day, doing things like 1-minute meditation, putting your hand on your heart and just doing some deep breaths, right? Or even putting the hands under like this, and just finding little tiny things that you can do throughout the day to connect to yourself. because that's what's going to help you not go into that panic reaction mode that I talked about in the beginning, where you're just on go, 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 or you're stuck and you're frozen. So to recap, the best way to be effective with your time is to, one, understand what those triggers are that get you into your sympathetic or get you into dorsal in that freeze mode. Understand what they are. Two, find ways to anchor and strengthen your nervous system, and then have strategies and tools to get back into ventral vagal. And then three, go through that 5-step process where you're looking at, one, what are your values and intentions around how you want to spend your time? Two, what is it that you're creating? What's your vision? Give it purpose and meaning, because then you're more likely to follow through. And then three, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, let go of what's not working and what are those time wasters and those trapped emotions that are causing you to be procrastinated or use unhealthy coping mechanisms. And then four, recalibrate. Once you've done all that, you've let go, you've added things on, how are you going to recalibrate and organize your time and have it balanced with structure and flexibility, and set those boundaries. And then lastly, making sure that you're in a natural rhythm of having daily routines that keep you in a good flow and keep you connected to yourself and in alignment and in ventral vagal. Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. Remember to always check out the comments for any freebies or mini offers, as well as my memberships and free clarity call. Thanks again, and until next time.